It was a nightmare for my parents. They said, he's mad, he's crazy. So they put me in a mental institution not only once, but 3 times. Any dream is made possible by taking the first step. So whatever you want something, the whole universe will conspire for you to get it, but you have to take the step towards your dream. And then you'll be guided. I cannot see any pilgrim today.
No.
But somehow we feel the energy of many, many centuries of pilgrimage.
Paulo Coelho is among the world's best-selling authors. We are with him on the Camino to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. It was on this road that he was inspired to start writing, and today he has readers all over the world.
Your book and another one book giving me on motive.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that.
That's better than Diego Maradona.
Thank you. May God bless you. Have a wonderful pilgrimage.
Paulo Coelho started writing at the age of 38. 20 years later, he has sold an unbelievable 85 million copies, and his work is translated into 62 languages. He had his breakthrough with The Alchemist, and he has written a number of bestsellers since. Pilgrimage was one of the first, and he was inspired to write it after he walked the Camino.
When I arrived to Santiago, I had a kind of sensation that, my God, now my life has no meaning anymore. And I said, what shall I do? I would like to be a writer, but so far, and I was 38, I did not dare to write a single line. Why don't I try now to fulfill my dreams instead of postponing?
The beautiful pilgrim service is a worthy end to this long walk of inspiration. On the road, the pilgrims have been challenged to think about their past, their present, and their future. And for many of them, there has been a lot to go through. For Paulo Coelho, this meant looking back. He grew up in a Jesuit family in Brazil. The upbringing was strict, with no room for emotional dreams.
Rebellion is a sacred flame. If you don't fight against the values that you see, if you take everything for granted, the world will never evolve. So, of course, I was a nightmare for my parents. They put me into a mental institution. Because when I was 18, 17, I don't remember exactly, they said, he's mad, he's crazy. So they put me in a mental institution not only once, but 3 times. I did not forgive my parents because they don't need forgiveness. They try to do that because they loved me. You know, there are worse experiences in life than this one. How many people has a broken heart and spend the rest of their lives, you know, suffering on that, incapable of accepting this energy of love again. So in the case of my parents, I don't think they needed forgiveness because they did not try to harm me. They tried to help me in a wrong way, but they tried to help me. Then when I left the mental institution, I said, okay, I cannot run for presidency because they are going to come with this paper saying, oh, he's crazy, he cannot run for president. But besides that, I can do anything because I'm crazy, you know. So I started, and it was the moment where the hippie movement really was the experience of my life. And then young people, different languages, but the same path. One of the parts of the hippie culture, it was traveling. So I started traveling, and you realize that you don't need a lot of things, but you realize also that people are there to help you. I do think that when you're not surrounded by your safe world, when you are vulnerable, like in a pilgrimage, for example, or when you travel, then you're much more open to other people. You don't speak the language, so you learn how to be dependent. And you learn also this is not something to blame, this is something to be proud of. When I was a hippie, I traveled South America and North America, and I only had $200. Still I could eat, sleep, find girlfriends, whatever. Because I realized, and I did not speak English or whatever. I was just traveling. So a pilgrimage, even if you walk fast, slow you down.
She who would valiant be against all disaster, let her inconstancy follow her heart.
And then I had my experiences on drugs, you know? And they kill the most important thing in your life, that it is the power of your will. You don't have any will anymore. You are there on drugs and you forget about fighting for things meaningful to you. Now, I was arrested 3 times. But the 3rd time, I was kidnapped. So they stopped the taxi and they went. And they took me away from the taxi, and I felt in the grass. And they put a gun here, and I looked in front of me and I saw a hotel. And I said, my God, this is the last thing that I'm going to see in my life. And this is not fair. I'm 26-year-old. You know, I did not live my life fully. And I thought I was going to die. So for 7 years I was totally scared. I left the jail, but the jail was still inside of me. And at the end you think, well, probably I was really guilty. This is the problem. You think that you're really guilty, and you say, oh, I was too heavy, you know, these crazy things of being a lyricist, of going beyond my limits. I should be a normal person. And I tried to be normal for 7 years, and I could not go beyond 7 years. I said, no, I don't need to be normal. But then, like anything, time heals. So this is the map of the road to Santiago.
Okay.
You can see here.
Well used.
There are several roads to Santiago, and they all get together in Puente la Reina. Huh? And then here we are, Puente la Reina. And we have still a long way to go.
The Camino is located in the northern part of Spain. From Puente la Reina, the Camino travels across the large Spanish meseta, passing the highlands before reaching Santiago de Compostela, a distance of 700 kilometers.
This is a monument to the pilgrims, using the classical wearing of the pilgrims, the coat, the hat, the stick, and it's just written here. From that part on, all the roads to Santiago becomes just one.
The statue is located in Puente la Reina, and every year about 100,000 pilgrims pass through this beautiful city and walk over the famous old bridge.
So Puente la Reina is a place that unifies people. And this bridge is there for I don't know how many centuries in just a small place. It has for every pilgrim a very special meaning. Like you cross turbulent waters, troubled waters, but still you go to the other margin of the river. I do believe that all the bridges have a very special meaning in our life. I think a book is a bridge. Any type of art is a bridge that allow different cultures to connect themselves. Now that we see everything collapsing, you know, the political bridge, whatever, the economical bridge, we still have culture. You may not understand your neighbor's way of seeing life, but you still understand your neighbor's story, or painting, or dancing. I realized that the most special and magical things in life that I like to do, they are free. Like walking. I love walking.
Since, Lord, you do defend us within your spirit, we know we at the end shall life inherit.
What you learn at the very beginning of the road is that travel light. And this is a universal truth. In our lives, we try to carry a lot of things. I'm talking metaphorically. It is a t-shirt of €1, but now it's much more expensive because every time that you go to a hotel and you put it for the laundry, they charge you €5. So I think that this t-shirt that I bought for €1 now is worth €50 because I washed it 10 times, you know. It's much easier to buy one t-shirt every time, but then you have to go to the store and buy, so you just put there and wash. But this t-shirt now is €50. Originally €1. Now with all 10 washes, €50.
Cruz del Ferro is the highest point on the Camino, 1,500 meters above sea level. The big iron cross carries an important meaning to the pilgrims. Here, they can leave a stone or some of their belongings as a symbol of the things they are carrying and want to leave behind.
But it's not the physical road that counts alone. There is also a spiritual road that you're following without knowing. So you have to be attentive to the signs, to the omens, to what happens around you. So I would suggest, if someone has the idea to do the road to Santiago, not to think too much. But then I start to think about kilometers and weight, and if you're fit, and if you can do it. Don't think, just do it. If you cannot do it, the road itself is going to show you. I know a lot of people that prepare themselves, they try to do their best, they go and do fitness, and when they arrive here, the reality is totally different. You only learn about reality on the spot. So just take the first step toward this dream, start walking, and I'm sure that the spiritual energy is going to support you to get to the other end of the road. What I learned in this road, it is the good fight. It is fighting for something that it is meaningful. It is fighting to do something that you like to do. And even if you don't have peace, the so-called peace, you have joy. So on my pilgrimage, I had a lot of joy. I cannot say that I had peace. And it's still up to today, I'm not looking for peace. I'm looking for enjoying life as much as I can. The road to Santiago is plenty of cafes and shelters. You also realize during the road to Santiago that language is not important anymore. You can communicate through eyes, through gestures, well, because you have pilgrims from all over the world. So you realize that. And in the shelters during the evening, you meet people, you drink, you sing.
Se eu perder esse trem que sai agora às 11 horas, só amanhã de manhã. E além disso, mulher, tem outras coisas. Minha mãe não dorme enquanto eu não chegar. Sou filho único, tenho a minha casa pra olhar. Eu não posso ficar na morte.
Meeting people, I never think it is by coincidence. I think there is always a real meaning in meeting people. It can be the owner of a hotel, it can be a journalist, it can be a pilgrim, it can be a taxi driver. I think that so many things happen to put these people together. You know? You have to be born and raised and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and from different places, and all of a sudden, blah.
I want to say thank you very much, because Paulo gave to me the possibility to know a side, I think the more important side in my life. I am one person after, and I am another person before. Oh. Your friend, your relationship in my life.
You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I come running to see you again. With the spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I'll be there. You got a friend.
Paulo advised me many times to do the Camino de Santiago. He recommends us when you need to stay with your soul, your life. But I never listen. I never have a time. I work too much, you know. And one time when my mother passed away, I decided reflection about my life, about the life, and I make the Pilgrim Way. I think the Pilgrim Way for me is one of my best experience, life experience.
You got a friend.
I admire Paulo very much, this person who loves adventure, who is a pilgrim by heart, who loves to meet people, to make friends.
Monica is Paulo's agent and has followed him since the very beginning of his career. She travels with him on his promotions all over the world.
I think in some way when the reader reads one book of Paulo and just talk as a friend, I think people recognize as something they have thought as well in some time in their lives, and they recognize Paulo as a long friend, even never meeting before. No, so it's what I see. People feel immediately they have something in common.
He's a sensual, seductor, and charming man. He is so charming.
Mi gente corre y no estabas tú. Otras tardes vi brillar.
He have the power with the women, because I think Paulo sometimes think like woman. He think like woman. Paulo have a feminine side.
I am a woman myself.
You are?
So.
You have simultaneous capacity?
Yeah, I am a woman, and it took me years to realize that. It was only when I wrote by the River Piedra, I sat down and wept, that I realized that my feminine side, that I am a woman. And since then, of course, this is a daily struggle, but I try to allow this feminine energy to flow through me as much as my masculine energy. They don't go along together. I'm not androgynous, huh? But sometimes I'm a woman, sometimes I'm a man. So what is important about this feminine energy? Reality goes beyond what we see. We can see pillars, we can see things that we can touch. But between you and I, or anybody, there's emotions, things that we cannot see. This is a new perception, coming from the goddess, coming from the feminine face of God, coming from God the Mother. So we are, if we follow this path, we are going towards a more feminine world. I'm not saying a feminist world. I'm saying a feminine world. Because when I was in Norway, and I opened the door for a lady, she said, "Don't do that because I can open my doors." I was very shocked. I said, "But I am a gentleman. I open doors." You know, you start behaving like men. This is not what life is all about. Allow us to be gentlemen. Allow you to be feminine, but we are different, but at the same time we have both energies.
Paulo is not connected to the Camino only through himself, but also through his wife, Cristina.
I would like to try to show you one of my wife's picture. Look at this single.
They're all over the place.
Yeah. And so I will try to uncover, unearth one of her paintings, because she allows nature to work on it.
Cristina Oiticica is an artist from Rio de Janeiro. She went on the pilgrimage in 1990. Since then, she and Paulo have shared their passion for the Camino, this beautiful road of love and inspiration. Freedom to follow their own personal path through writing and painting has been the most important investment in their relationship of true love.
I am married 4 times. I lived with 4 different women. I married my 3rd wife, and it took me years in Brazil, it took years to have this divorce. So we got divorced. She's a friend of mine, my 3rd wife. And then with Cristina, we got this 27 years relationship. And somehow we got superstitious about getting married. I said, my God, this is working so well, and why should we go and sign a paper? According to the Brazilian law, if we marry, she has less rights than if we live together. If we live together, half and half. If we marry, we can establish a kind of document. So for her, legally speaking, it's much better not to be married with me. And for me, I'm glad that we're not married, because then the superstition stands there. But there is one thing that bound us together that makes everything easy, is love. So it's not a gigantic effort for her, it's not a gigantic effort for me. It's love, and when you love, well, everything changes, and everything is justified. And you don't need to be insecure, or he's going to meet another girl, or she's going to meet another man. Just relax, enjoy the energy of free love. Because nothing in this world forces me to be with Cristina but love. So we are here, and my wife and I have a very special relationship with the road to Santiago. And my wife have a very special technique on painting. So she decided to bury, well, canvas in different places in the world. This year she decided to bury here in the road to Santiago. You see that nature, this is gold here, and nature is already working. I would not take. So this will be touched not only by my wife's hand, but also by the hand of the goddess of the Virgin. And it is our task to share the wonder of being alive and being on this planet. We cannot improve the state of the world, but we can somehow try to do something better.
Hotel El Peregrino in Puente la Reina is arranging an exhibition of Cristina's pictures. The director of the hotel is quite excited about how this is going to support the different facilities along the Camino.
Aquí, en este claustro, va una galería donde la esposa de Paulo, Cristina, va a hacer una exposición que mínimamente va a durar 2 años. Sí, y bueno, todo el dinero que aquí se va a conseguir se va a ser destinado para los distintos albergues del camino, para sus necesidades. No sé, hay que poner una ducha, hay que comprar unas camas, cualquier cosa que nosotros podamos modestamente ayudar.
At the same hotel, they have decided to honor Paulo Coelho in a special way. The director shows us his plan in front of the main entrance.
Aquí es donde va la ampliación de la casa a la habitación de Paulo Coelho.
The Camino passes through Burgos and the great cathedral in the town. For Paulo, this is a natural place to visit.
I would not call this a Catholic church. I would call this a Gothic monument. Yes, it is Catholic. I'm Catholic myself. But when you go inside, you see these men and women that craft the whole cathedral. So more than anything else, when I was looking inside to the work of art, what I saw was the energy of love. A life without love is a meaningless life. And then you try to escape and go and love God. This is nonsense. First, be capable of being loved by your neighbor. Then you can love God. When there is this woman who commits adultery, and she is there in the plaza to be stoned by people, and then Christ arrives and look, and people, they say, okay, let's fulfill the law. But the one who never committed the sin, throw the first stone. And then little by little, and the Bible says, starting with the elder and coming to the... Everybody leaves the place. And then Jesus goes to the woman and said, oh, nobody condemned you, so I'm not condemning you also. I was in Austria with a monk, and we are in the table, and the monk, she's a woman, she was in this cave for 24 years. And I asked her in front of everybody, I said, but Tenzin, what is it to be, to have 24 years without sex? And she said, but then I had this spiritual orgasm. I said, but for you it took 24 years to have a spiritual orgasm. It's much easier to connect and have physical orgasm. That takes you also to this spiritual level. I wrote then a book called 11 Minutes that is basically about how we see sex today and how we deal with it. I think that sex was put there by God. And it's funny because the same sensation that you have in an orgasm, you have in the mystical ecstasies. I experienced both, orgasm and mystical ecstasies. and when you have an orgasm, you don't see, you don't hear, you are totally there. You know, it's a kind of golden light. For seconds, but also mystical ecstasies lasts not more than 5 or 6 seconds that you have. So you are not yourself anymore. You are something that goes beyond yourself. You are just golden light.
It is Harvest Festival in Santo Domingo de la Calzada, one of the beautiful cities along the Camino. For Paulo, it was quite a coincidence that he experienced this celebration. They are celebrating that the harvest is over. The fields are left behind empty, and life has gone into hibernation. It is the circle of life. The same circle challenges people on the Camino to reflect on both life and death.
This I first learned in the road to Santiago. Facing your death, not as your enemy, but as your friend. My death is sitting here. Yeah. She's blonde. She's beautiful. And she always look at me and say, I'm going to kiss you. I say, please wait another day. You don't need to kiss me today. I can just give me another day. But I'm very conscious of my death.
Cebrero is a small village that means something special to Paulo Coelho. This is the place he realized that his dream was to become a writer, and where he decided to follow his path of life. And therefore, he has made a very special decision.
I never ever returned to the Cebrero. I am only going to return to Cebrero under the form of ashes. And then the wind will take me, because my spirit will be here, like any other spirit. I'm not this type of person who thinks a lot about the past. I lived my past as intensely as I could. For example, I only did this pilgrimage once. But when I did it, in 1986, I did it with all my heart and all my body. So if you repeat, it's a kind of downgrading something. There are people who get addicted to this road. I don't understand why. And I respect their attitude, but for me, sometimes, most of the times I do something only once, but when I do totally. I am who I am. The wind is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I said it clear. I state my case, of which I'm certain. Wow. I did what I had to do. I had a niche in every highway, but more, much more than this, I did it my way. Oh, regrets, I have a few, but then again, to feel, to mention, I did what I had to do, and so it's true, without assumption. I planned each travel course, each careful step along in mine. I did it my way. 'Cause what is a man? What has God? If not himself, so he has not. To see the world that he truly feels, and not the world that someone who knew let it go. I did my tour, and I did it my way. My road started in Santiago, not ended in Santiago, and since then I'm still following the road to Santiago. If not the physical one that crosses Puente La Reina, etc., the road to Santiago is my path, the path that I learned, that is walked by common people, by people who really love and are enthusiastic about what they do. I have to honor the mystery of being alive. So I want to live with my questions. They are much more interesting than my answers. In life, then just one. How many people has a broken heart and spend the rest of their lives, suffering on that, incapable of accepting this energy of love again. So in the case of my parents, I don't think they needed forgiveness because they did not try to harm me. They tried to help me in a wrong way, but they tried to help me. Then when I left the mental institution, I said, okay, I cannot run for presidency because they are going to come with this paper saying, oh, he's crazy, he cannot run for president. But besides that, I can do anything because I'm crazy, So I started, and that was the moment where the hippie movement really was the experience of my life. And then young people, different languages, but the same path. One of the parts of the hippie culture, it was traveling. So I started traveling, and you realize that you don't need a lot of things, but you realize also that people are there to help you. I do think that when you're not surrounded by your safe world, when you are vulnerable, like in a pilgrimage, for example, or when you travel, then you're much more open to other people. You don't speak the language, so you learn how to be dependent. And you learn also this is not something to blame, this is something to be proud of. When I was a hippie, I traveled South America and North America, and I only had $200. Still I could eat, sleep, find girlfriends, whatever. Because I realized, and I did not speak English or whatever. I was just traveling. So a pilgrimage, even if you walk fast, it slows you down.
She who would valiant be against all disaster, let her inconstancy follow her heart.
And then I had my experiences on drugs, and they kill the most important thing in your life, that it is the power of your will.
the beautiful pilgrim service is a worthy end to this long walk of inspiration. On the road, the pilgrims have been challenged to think about their past, their present, and their future. And for many of them, there has been a lot to go through.
Por Jesucristo, nuestro Señor.
For Paulo Coelho, this meant looking back. He grew up in a Jesuit family in Brazil. The upbringing was strict, with no room for emotional dreams.
Rebellion is a sacred flame. If you don't fight against the values that you see, if you take everything for granted, the world will never evolve. So, of course, I was a nightmare for my parents. They put me into a mental institution. Because when I was 18, 17, I don't remember exactly, they said, he's mad, he's crazy. So they put me in a mental institution not only once, but 3 times. I did not forgive my parents because they don't need forgiveness. They don't need, they try to do that because they loved me. You know, there are worse experiences.
And another one book giving me a motive.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that.
That's better than Diego Maradona.
Thank you. May God bless you. Have a wonderful pilgrimage.
Paulo Coelho started writing at the age of 38. 20 years later, he has sold an unbelievable 85 million copies, and his work is translated into 62 languages. He had his breakthrough with The Alchemist, and he has written a number of bestsellers since. Pilgrimage was one of the first, and he was inspired to write it after he walked the Camino.
When I arrived to Santiago, I had a kind of sensation that, my God, now my life has no meaning anymore. And I said, what shall I do? I would like to be a writer, but so far, and I was 38, I did not dare to write a single line. Why don't I try now to fulfill my dreams instead of postponing. It was a nightmare for my parents. They said, he's mad, he's crazy. So they put me in a mental institution not only once, but 3 times. Any dream is made possible by taking the first step. So whatever you want something, the whole universe will conspire for you to get it, but you have to take the step towards your dream. And then you'll be guided. I cannot see any pilgrim today.
No.
But somehow we feel the energy of many, many centuries of pilgrimage.
Paulo Coelho is among the world's best-selling authors. We are with him on the Camino to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. It was on this road that he was inspired to start writing, and today he has readers all over the world.
Oh, your book